So Dominic McGregor, welcome to Modern Wisdom. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very
good drive?
Yeah, good drive down from Newcastle to Manchester in the rain, which is typical British weather. So it's crazy to come into this office, which is several thousand square feet and looks like a labyrinth, with sleeping pods and a bar and a fully functioning kitchen with a chef in and all the rest of it. And this is where memes are made that run around the UK, right?
It's the meme factory. Yeah, I didn't like that title. But
I saw when that article went out. Was it on the Guardian?
It was the Guardian, yeah. And it just called us the meme factory, which we are. You know, we make a lot of content here, but a little bit about us. So we started in the room next door with like a white table, which is like the same one that we're on here. The only thing is, there was 4 of them, one for every single person. And we were sat, and I think these are like very similar to the white tables we had. We got them as a little bit of a memory. And we were working in the room, starting Social Chain, which is a marketing agency. And it took us, 3 or 4 months to really find out that we were actually onto something. And what was different between us and any other marketing agency is we own big communities. So we own big social media pages from student problems, sport, love food, beef motivation, and we work with brands on them communities.
So I'm right in saying that you guys have got access to about 400 million people, is that right?
Yeah.
The total combined reach
across Facebook,
400 million people.
Yeah. Across the world.
Which is...
We have followers in like Taiwan.
Fucking stupid.
Everywhere.
Who's got 400 million of anything?
I know.
It's just crazy.
When you put it into a graphic, it's like ridiculous.
That's terrifying. But so I found out about you guys about 2 years ago from one of my best mates who actually worked for you.
Yep.
And what he explained to me about Social Chain at the time felt absolutely groundbreaking, that you guys have access to the network, you understand the platform, and then you do the creative.
Yep.
And for me, I was like, how has no one come up with this before? Because influencers have been around for 5-10 years, or 5 years, really prevalent.
I think the reason we fell upon it is that we had influence, I guess, but our influences wasn't our faces. So we had to fight to.
What was the first page that you started off with?
Student problems.
Was it really?
Yeah.
And who started that?
Me.
You started student problems?
Yeah.
No way.
So I was at university in Edinburgh, and I went out one night. I don't know why. Honestly, it was like a really heavy night. It was like actually, do you know what? I think it's exactly 5 years ago today.
No way.
I think I'll double check, but I think it was the 7th of February.
That's fantastic.
So I think it is. Went out and woke up the next day and had no toilet paper in my toilet. So instead of, and literally the shop was down the bottom of the street. I could have walked and got it. So instead of going and getting it, I decided to start a Twitter page and tweet about my life.
You didn't have any toilet paper.
The fact I had no toilet paper.
Yeah.
And then for the next couple of weeks, just tweeting everything that I was doing. Literally my life through my eyes. So like realising how expensive cheese was, for example, which is very expensive when you move out. I love cheese. And then just little things like that, and then it got to like 20,000 followers in the space of 2 weeks, and then Steve got in touch with me because he was running a website which was like Gumtree for students.
Okay.
It was called Wallpark.
Right.
And he was kind of just doing the traditional marketing methods by leaflets and nightclubs and everything else people do to try and reach students, and took a step back of it and actually realised that social is where students are spending their attention.
Absolutely.
Looked on Twitter for students, student problems came up, emailed me. We met in Vodka Revs in York for about an hour, had a chat, and then after that conversation, I dropped out of university, moved to Manchester, started working at Wallpark with him, and then we just built more and more social media pages to the point where we got about 10 million driving traffic to Wallpark. Realised that, one day we're going to have to get money from advertisers. We could drive 1 million people to Wallpark, but we've got 10 million people on social. Why would advertisers want to be on the website when they can just be on the social media pages?
You can go direct and cut out the middleman.
Exactly. So we started putting brands on social, just got rid of the website, travelled the world, found more people who ran big social pages, like Hannah, who ran Hogwarts Logic, which is the biggest Harry Potter page.
Yep.
Got them all together, put them in the warehouse here, and we just tried to see if this was something. And it was.
It definitely feels like it is, doesn't it? It's crazy. It's absolutely mad that you guys are at the forefront of a wave of sort of social media, not in terms of adoption, but more in terms of how the use from marketing is being delivered to people.
Yeah.
I think that organic, genuinely creative, adding value kind of content.
Yeah. I think it's meaningful.
Yes.
People. We, as a generation, I'm pretty sure everyone's got ad blockers on their laptop. They're sick of being told what to do by brands. Our whole thing is now about how brands can actually form a connection and care about their consumers. And we know as people, individuals ourselves, what we purchase now actually depends much more on what the brand says about us, rather than anything, rather than quality, rather than costs in some instances.
We self-brand with everything.
Exactly.
It's interesting coming at it from a club promoter's perspective, because everyone goes out to a club event on a night, and everyone listening will know you get tagged in the photos, and then the next day the album goes up, and then you get tagged in them, and that tag stays on your Facebook profile with the watermark of the event at the bottom, and that means, I'm a voodoo girl, like I go voodoo, I like this kind of music, and immediately as soon as someone sees that on your Facebook profile, they can make a whole bunch of assumptions about who you are and about the values that you have,
and they're not normally wrong.
No, they're not, which is, I guess,
the same way you could probably do it through looking at someone's YouTube history.
which is,
I always say that, the YouTube, if you go on someone's YouTube suggested videos, that is how you find out who they are.
That's a really, really good point.
Honestly, works with girls.
It's just as well the history isn't public, is it?
Girls, honestly, it's the worst one. Honestly, girls, a lot of them have got serial killers. A lot of them, mass murders and serial killers.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they're just inquisitive.
They're really interested in like crime and stuff.
Yeah, my ex-missus was actually.
Yeah, because they're trying to find out. Well, they all want to be detectives for some reason.
Fair enough. So you've got yourself into social chain.
Yep.
Is that when did you begin the actual brand of social chain? When did that start?
Yeah. So we were at Wall Park for about. Steve started it when he was 18, so he was doing it for about 3 years. I was there for about a year. And then when we sold that back to the investors, we had a bit of time out where we went traveling the world. There was this kind of talk of social chain. We came up with the name pretty early on when we were still at Wall Park, but it didn't mean anything. We were like, this is like social chain of pages. This is what it is. It's our social chain. It's what's driving people to Wall Park. And then we went to Thailand, went to Brazil, New York, did a bit of living.
Not bad fact finding.
No, not bad. No, we were doing a lot of market research. 20. We'd actually spent some time in Silicon Valley doing some consulting.
Actually, did do some work.
Yeah, we did do some work. Yeah, we went to the World Cup in Brazil, which was cool.
That's sick.
That was really good. Yeah. But I thought it was going to be full of girls, but it was the World Cup, and it was just full of blokes everywhere, Argentinians everywhere. Which is cool, but
nice for a while. But
when you're 21 and you go to Brazil for the first time, you're expecting like
something different.
Yeah. And then we came back from that because one of our clients who we were doing consultancy for wanted us to launch their new product.
Okay.
So we launched their new product and they turned around and offered us investment.
Wow.
Yeah. So did really well. Got to about 4 million users. They invested, and that's when social chain became a thing.
Okay.
Which was 3rd November 2014.
So that's not long ago at all. No. We're talking like 3.5 years.
Yeah, 3.5. No, well, yeah, 3 years. So 3 years.
That's crazy. And to get from there to now accessing 400 million people, can you think of a top 3 favourite campaigns that you guys have done? Anything that springs to mind that people might know?
Yeah, we did. The one most people know is we did a campaign where we hijacked a billboard in Manchester and put "Welcome to Zlatan" when Zlatan Ibrahimovic signed for Man United.
Yeah,
that was pretty well known. But we've done some really cool things. In the stuff I like that we've done is a little bit more underground. So we've done some really cool campaigns with Sky Bet, where we filmed 2 grands taking part in Super 6. Which was pretty cool. It's kind of showing the use case of the app. And then I think, go back to the crazy side of things, we blew up a VW Beetle for Super Dry on Halloween.
Right.
Which was pretty fun.
Was that on Facebook Live?
Yeah, Facebook Live, yeah.
Was that one of the ones where press fire to do
press fire, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, did you see it?
I saw Did you guys do the one? Was it Pretty Little Thing?
Yep.
Yeah, which was was that maybe a balloon?
Yeah, did a balloon. Yeah.
So I saw the one for that.
Yeah, we've blown a couple of things up.
And that's like one of the most highly engaged
live streams,
ever.
Yeah, 2.5 million views, about 1 million comments
in probably a couple of hours.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as I saw that go out, I then saw ones where ice creams were melting in the sun and people had to comment on which one was going to melt first. And that kind of was the first foray into seeing that sort of stuff go out live. So
we were the first people to do produced live streams.
Yes.
So you can put a phone up and live stream like the drum and puddle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drummond Central is just around the corner
from us. That was funny. That was the first ever use of live stream on social.
Was it really?
Yeah. Well, it was accidental. It was but it was really good. But we were the first ones to do a kind of orchestrated, planned, produced live stream, which then we just blew more things up and did some quizzes. But it's been that kind of like fast fashion space, super dry, boohoo, Pretty Little Thing where we've been really successful.
So everyone that's listening will use social media to some extent, and a lot of people will use it, but in one form or another, to either raise their profile, which is brings them some sort of equity back, or like myself, it becomes kind of a little bit more of a brand and is directly associated with what your company's doing.
Yep.
Are there any principles that you think that you've found out that people should be using on social media? Because it's very easy to get caught up, and we'll go into this in a second. It's very easy to get caught up and distracted on social media because that's the purpose of it.
Yeah.
But in terms of trying to use it effectively, I mean, I'm going to guess producing content that adds value, whether it's personally or commercially.
I think what you touched on there in terms of like personal branding, everyone's really got to understand where social fits into their life. It's like a shop window for who you are as a person. So you really need to, if you want to, some people don't want to do this, but if you want to like use it to your advantage, and really like showcase you as an individual, or, you know, what you're trying to achieve in your life and your journey, you've got to just think about how you want it to come across. And I think, some people are on the other side of the coin. They just want to use it to
keep in touch with their friends and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, yeah, my mum does it. She's got one friend on Facebook and it's me.
Is it?
And she like, will message backwards and forwards and send videos, and the usage of it will be really heavy, but it's incredibly narrow.
My grand's the same. She's got 30 friends, which is all the family. But every time I post anything, I get like 10 likes because I've got my mum, my dad, my granddad, my aunt. It's like,
all right, so you're already boosted.
I'm boosted. It looks like a really engaged post.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, I think the key is like really understand, like auditing yourself and why you should be using it. It's difficult because we say this from, because I always feel like saying this from someone who like knows the world, like we'll go into it more, but like what we've both been through, we're a little bit older. It's very difficult for 17, 16-year-olds to really understand,
to have that perspective.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So I think one of the things that I want to talk about today is the ethical use of time on social media. It's, as far as I'm concerned, an emerging topic at the moment. I wouldn't say that it's been tremendously widespread yet, but Sam Harris and a guy called Tristan Harris, who is product philosopher at Google, did a really famous podcast about 3 months ago. You can find it on Sam Harris's podcast, Waking Up, on iTunes, if you want to have a listen yourself, and timewellspent.com is Tristan Harris's website. And on that, what he discusses is the cognitive biases that are being leveraged by apps and by developers in order to keep people's time on site. And they say that there's only so many hours in the day, and that YouTube is competing with Facebook, is competing with Netflix, is competing with everything to try and maximize the time on site. So I wanted to ask yourself, as someone who is driving engaging content online, which means that people's time on site and time on screen will be increased, have you got any concerns about this? Yeah,
I think taking a step back also is we are very, as humans or animals, so we are very influenced by like social, and you can see it on games like Candy Crush, the way they reward the kind of dopamine levels with their hits and their like, you know, all that is designed towards keeping people addicted. I am under the strong belief that, from two sides of the coin really, as a publisher, people always consume content. It's always been the same. We've had the same issues with TV. to an extent, not more of the addiction side of things, but the kind of, I guess you have got small obsession with TV. You do find people who are very sedimentary because they're always on watching TV. But I think with what is the important thing about social is it's the age of people. Again, the younger generation, these people are a lot more highly influenced. They're not as developed. They're not as assured of themselves, let alone their surroundings. So yes, I do feel kind of responsible in that instance, and I think more can be done to educate young people. But again, it's very difficult because they're young. They've got a lot of things on the plate.
It's
already.
interesting because you guys you've got the access, which is from knowing what the company is about. I'd definitely say that everybody here, as far as I'm aware, in the company culture is an altruistic one. Now, if that sense of genuinely caring about people's well-being is to the contrary of what advertisers want, I guess therein may lie a little bit more of a difficulty. But certainly for me, it doesn't feel like coming into the guys who make Global Trends and social media's office. It doesn't feel like I'm stepping into some underworld cabal of like people trying to desperately claw at young kids' time and make them feel incredibly self-conscious online and like desperate for likes and things like that. There's definitely an argument to be made, I think, that Student Problems was born of a genuine care or a genuine interest in the topic. Could you argue now that that's been monetized and is being used as a commercial vehicle? But the argument is that you're still making content that's even better and is still providing the same end result for users.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Completely. And I think with that comes massive responsibilities on the other side for us to be able to educate people. So we've recently done a documentary around mental health on student problems, where we've gone to Bristol University, where last year there was 8 suicides. That had very high number of suicides.
It's the number one killer of men under 40.
Yep.
Which is an absolutely terrifying topic.
Yep.
But yeah.
So, and you go to university, it's going to be the best 3 years of your life, and a lot of students are wanting to commit suicide. So we have a responsibility from that side of the fence to provide content which is entertaining and relevant, but also to act as the voice of that generation, where we educate them on life, on the topics that they really need to know about as well. So, we feel like I've started to feel that responsibility a lot more.
I think the fact is that it's emerging, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. It's like when a new drug comes out onto the market, you don't know the side effects of it until it's been in circulation for a while.
Yeah.
And the same thing with social media, that we only realized what it was, and it's still emerging as what actually social media is and how all of the different platforms work before you then move on to tech addictions.
Yeah.
And
everyone's different though as well. Everyone has a different relationship with it.
Absolutely.
So it's very difficult to diagnose anyone.
For sure.
So it's like, and I guess if you ask someone what their relationship is, then they're always going to tell you it's healthy. And they're not going to really because the thing is, Instagram's a highlight reel. You go on Instagram and you've got all your friends posting about being on holiday, so you get the feeling that you're sat there at work not doing anything. Mm-hmm. So that yes, it's social media, but it has a bigger impact in your life than just the actual addiction to the phone or to the that side of things. It has a longer lasting effect. So
it's interesting because, especially with Instagram, I read this quote online which I thought was really timely, and it basically said that Instagram specifically, you compare the best of everyone else's life with the worst of yours.
Yeah.
Because you view your own life through a lens of complete understanding of all of your failings. Yeah. You see the blooper reel, and that's what sticks.
Yeah.
Because our minds are Teflon for good thoughts and Velcro for bad thoughts. Yeah. That's how we evolved.
Yeah.
The person that the Neanderthal, the human that was living in a cave that decided that they weren't worried, is the one that got eaten first because they were the least risk averse.
Yep.
The ones that are risk averse were the ones. So it means that we're hardwired to think about things negatively. And you're right, when you see the best of other people's lives, but the worst of yours, it does lead with a very, very harsh contrast.
And it's funny, in this space, I think that influencers need to be more accountable because they're creating an unrealistic expectation of life, which is more detrimental than us posting videos of cheese on our page.
I agree.
So I think that's that's where I think a bigger issue lies, with the responsibility of influencers to really, like, you know, they're the ones that are damaging it, because they're showing unrealistic lifestyle.
Theirs is more, if you're an influencer, it's a lot more of a surreptitious delivery of the brand message.
Yep.
Because it comes about irrelevant of which brand is tagged in your outfits, or what supplements at the front of your training session, or who it is that's paid for the video production or the photo to be taken.
Yep.
People don't see that. They see, look at the condition of this particular guy, look at the arse on this particular girl, look at how exciting the holiday is, or she's on a boat again, or...
Yep, and they always all say, through their experiences, and they've had hard times, when a lot of them probably haven't. I may be doing injustice, but some of them probably have. But they're having worked with influencers, they've got quite an easy life. They don't know what stress is, they don't know what strain is, and they're painting an unrealistic expectation to young people.
So there needs to be a code of ethics that influencers should be thinking about using when they're putting stuff online.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see the difference between someone who does follow influencers and someone who doesn't follow any influencers.
Absolutely.
And let them judge things like a meal out, or a holiday, or like an outfit. Because if a girl, I know it's a lot more in the female space, because they are the ones that, not to sound a bit sexist or anything, but they are more avid users of social media for certain types of things.
I'm going to guess you're exactly in the position to know what the stats are on that as well.
Yeah, exactly. I don't happen to hand, but they're much more avid users. And if you compared a girl who doesn't follow any influencers versus someone who does follow influencers, and you ask them their 10 favourite brands, you'd probably get a very different answer.
I agree. And then probably satisfaction, and like you say, you're going out for a meal.
Yep.
And if you've previously in the day seen that someone was at Blue Marlin Dubai, one of your favourite influencers at Blue Marlin Dubai, having teriyaki salmon and black cod and surrounded by £1 million yachts, and then you've gone out on Valentine's Day to somewhere that doesn't fulfil that expectation, you're right, it's not a tremendously positive environment at times, is it?
Yep. And these are people you'll never meet. And that's what they're making you feel. It's ruining relationships, it's ruining friendships, it's ruining everything. And it's making it's what I think anyway.
So if you've got affiliations with influencers and stuff like that, would you be, I'm going to guess the answer is yes to this, but you'd be maybe pushing them to think about, be a little bit more mindful with their content and try and...
it's difficult because that's their livelihood as well.
Right.
So you've got to really balance an act. I think it needs to be something that comes organically from the influencer space. They need to realise, some of them need to realise what they're doing.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be nice.
Maybe that'll happen over the years.
Maybe.
So moving on to another topic that both of us are really passionate about. I want to talk about your problem with substances that you've had over the years.
Yep.
Could you give us a bit of background on that, please?
Yeah. It's always a fun story to remember. I guess my life started like same as anyone else's. You know, you go to university, you spend 3 nights a week drunk. It's life.
Edinburgh's a good night out, man. Why not?
Why not
really
Monday?
good club.
That was my Monday. I used to finish football training at 10 and go straight to Why Not.
Shout out Jay Glass.
And the Mac Twins.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll be watching.
They're still doing it. They're still killing it. Like, Why Not? If anyone's going to Edinburgh, Why Not nightclub? What, 8 years in a row? I think it's won like best club in Edinburgh. It kills it.
Monday nights.
It's the one.
It's got they always tell me it's complete redesign.
Yeah, it's got an LED. The room 2's LED ceiling, LED walls. It's fantastic. Anyway, so
I lived a normal life. And I would describe myself. The reason I think Student Problems was successful is because I was just an average student. I was completely straight in the middle of the line. You know, I've not got a privileged background. I'm not from. I've got a very middle of the road. You know, I can relate.
Representative.
Yeah, very representative. I can relate to everyone. So that's why I thought it was successful, because it was just what you'd expect a student to be like. Started social chain, and you know what? We had a lot of success very early.
And you are what age are you on about now?
I'm 21 at this point. Mm-hmm. So you're 21. A lot of success and a lot of disposable income, and really no responsibility to anyone other than yourself. And a lot of spare time. A lot of spare time, but you know, evenings and nights out. So you've got a concoction there of 4 elements which fuel really a lot of partying because you're 21.
The hedonic lifestyle, right? You've got the means and the ends to do what you want.
Exactly. So it starts out like that. It starts out celebrating. You know, we got some big client wins. We have a lot of success early on. So we all go out as a team. We spend a lot of time together having meals, and it genuinely at first it's celebrating. This is fantastic. You know, flash forward a year into the business, when you start to them first rocky patches, you can't let other people know that there's a issue with cash flow and that, you know, you're looking tight for wages next month. You can't have that on. You've got to put a straight face in here and, you know, business as usual. But behind that kind of good face, I'm struggling, really struggling. And
so we're 22 now, right? Ish.
22, yeah.
Yep.
And the celebrations continue because there's still success. But every single time of these celebrations and partying, I'm drinking to excess. I'm doing drugs because, you know, we've got spare money.
Got the cash.
Got the cash. It's normal. But I'm doing it to mask how I feel. I'm doing it to escape. I'm getting away from the stresses, the anxieties of what the real picture is. And it's almost this oxymoron of we are celebrating, everyone, all the staff, all the team is celebrating because we've just done something spectacular. But I know deep down that things are not rosy. So I'm yay, happy, and then I'm
on the outside. And then kind of allowing the substances to carry that through a little bit and play the role.
Exactly. And, you know, be that person. And that continues for a bit.
How are you able to function at work? Because
it's not bad at this point. It's not bad. It's no different than what everyone else would be doing. It's just the nights out. It's the same. It's the same. But I'm starting to feel that I'm becoming reliant on that lifestyle, and that's when I started to feel something. And then my whole life would start turning into that kind of thing. I got a girlfriend who was really bad for me. She created this picture that social chain was wrong, and that, you know, me and her were going to live a happy life, and that it was just a horrible relationship. And the stresses at work get not the stresses, but the situation at work gets a little bit tighter, more responsibility, more people join. The numbers we start talking are bigger. You know, we're talking £1 million contracts. We're talking, you know, a couple of legal battles come our way as well, which is, you know, all adds up to it. And then, you know, I think I'm trying to think, how old am I? 24, yeah. So there's a kind of a 3-month period where I break up with this girl because I get rid of her. And then the next 3 months is where it deteriorates for me. I start drinking on weekdays. That's when, and I always drank wine, so red wine. So I'd come home and have a glass of wine. You know, it became my reward for a hard day. I'd have a glass of wine, and it got to a point where the minute alcohol passed my lips, it would be a bottle. It'd be 2 bottles. It wouldn't stop. Yeah. And that would be on a weekday, and I'd get up and I'd go. And a couple of things happened that really hit me hard. So it was Thursday night. We went to neighbourhood opening here. It was a good night. Yeah. I got absolutely off my head. And it's a Thursday, and I go home and I fall down the hill at my house and break my ankle. It's a Wednesday. It's a Friday morning. I'm in hospital, sat there in A&E. Shit's going on at work, and I'm like, "What the hell am I doing this? Yeah. What the fuck am I doing this for?" That was like strike 1, and then like strike 2. Well, it was my birthday. Right. So I'm 23. My birthday. I go out with everyone. It's great.
It's going to be a heavy one.
Heavy one, obviously. But the day afterwards, which is my actual birthday, that was my night out. I spent my 23rd birthday locked in a dark room watching a movie.
Hating life.
Everyone was like, "Let's go for a meal. It's your birthday. Come on, let's go." I'm just, no, I'll stay here. I spent the whole day in a dark room on my birthday. Yeah. And I'm thinking about everything, thinking about my life. And that's when I gave up substances. I'm like, okay, it's drugs. It has to be drugs, you know. I can't be like this on weekends. This is ruining so I think, you know, I'll be fine. So I do 6 weeks without any drugs, and then
but still drinking.
Still drinking, yeah. Then I go to the races. I have a great day, honestly, a really good day. I'm a little bit more happy. But I come back home at like 6 p.m, you know, off my head. I've been invited there by a friend in a sponsor's box. So I've got unlimited alcohol
all day,
and it's a nice day. And I've still got the problem where if I touch alcohol, I won't stop drinking. I always have one in my hand. And my behaviour that day was I got thrown out of Piccolino's in Old Edge for stealing a bottle of wine from someone's table and shouting abuse at people.
Wow.
It was a different person.
Yeah.
And I said some mean things to some bad things to a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I've ever hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
And the minute I hurt somebody else, I knew I needed to stop because that's not me.
Yeah.
I could deal with hurting myself. I was beating myself up.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that a little bit because it was punishing myself.
That catharsis a little.
Yeah. But I couldn't deal with that hurting somebody else. I nearly got run over by a car once, you know, a couple of other things. I really, really drunk when I was drunk. But I could deal with that because it was me.
Yeah.
It was me. But the minute it moved into me doing damage to someone I cared about, I knew I had to stop. And then I woke up that day, I had a very, very frank conversation with Steve, who wasn't there that day but heard about it. And I said that I'm going to stop. I'm not going to drink again.
Mm-hmm.
Never going to drink again.
So how long sober are you now?
Well, 20 months.
20 months?
20 months, yeah.
So from that day?
From that day, never gone back.
Cold turkey?
Cold turkey.
And what was it like the first couple of weeks?
It's tough because you change your life. It's not because of the alcohol. I always say this is funny. The first weekend I woke up hungover. I didn't go out. But my body needs to recover. It's the problem with binge drinking. Your body gets used to this shock in its system every 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, it's a functioning organism. It's used to repetitiveness.
Yeah.
I woke up hungover because my body was dehydrated because it was probably producing more things in the liver, pancreas to break down the alcohol. And
it wasn't there.
It wasn't there. Like, you all right, Dom?
What's going on? We need some wine.
Yeah, we need some wine. So that was weird. So the first weekend I felt hungover. So I didn't feel the benefits. It wasn't until, this is my problem with dry January. You don't feel the benefits until like week 6.
Yeah.
So dry January is great, but the real benefits don't come till afterwards.
Kick in afterwards. 100%.
Exactly. It felt difficult because I had to change my entire lifestyle. It wasn't the alcohol, it was my lifestyle. I had to remove myself.
We've taken it far beyond social drinking here, haven't you? Mm-hmm. This is habitual needing drinking.
Yep.
Jordan Peterson makes a really interesting quote about people that have got substance abuse addiction. And he says that the addiction isn't a serious problem, until you need to take the substance to deal with the withdrawals from the substance.
Yep.
And until you're drinking to cure a hangover, because you're always hungover, you're kind of in a different realm. And as soon as you cross that line,
and that's what my weekend was, because someone broke it down to me. Friday, my body used to get ready. I used to feel getting ready for it to be. Honestly, it used to feel like it was getting
on a
ready.
7-day cycle.
It's getting ready for alcohol to be in it. So I'd get this like natural high come Friday at like 3 o'clock, where I'd get energy.
It knows that it's got the wine coming yet.
Yeah, it knows it's got everything coming for it.
Yeah.
So 3 o'clock, I'd be like, yeah, come on, feeling it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like. And my mind knows I'm away from, the end of the week, I'm away from the stress. I don't have to reply to emails or something for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So my body gets excited. So that's Friday, yeah? That's Friday at 3 o'clock. So your mind's out of work, your mind's already somewhere else. You go out Friday, Saturday written off, you can't do it during the day.
Yeah.
You go out Saturday. So Sunday you're recovering from Saturday and Friday. And then, do you know what? I was seeing this girl and you know what we invented? Tequila Sundays. Fantastic. So we had a couple of tequila Sundays.
Mm-hmm. So that'll fix the hangover and at least taper it off a little bit.
Exactly. So we had a couple of drinks Sunday night together.
Yeah.
And that then, it's Monday. Monday you're recovering.
Monday's tough, so you got to have a glass of wine at the end of the day because you've got through a day hungover.
Exactly. And then, maybe not Tuesday or Wednesday because you're a little bit fresher. And then Thursday.
You're winding back up for the weekend.
Exactly.
It's interesting. It's really interesting. I think that it'll be very enlightening for people to hear someone who has, from the outside looking in, definitely made up the dominance hierarchy, has got an awful lot going for them, but has struggled with something that most people elect to do and find enjoyable. And I think one of the key problems when you're talking about sobriety or when you're talking about trying to control alcohol is that every drink that you have makes a subsequent drink more difficult to not have.
Yep.
It's like a feedback loop.
Yep.
You have one and your inhibition's lower. Yep. And then you have another and your inhibition's lower.
Yep.
And then before long you're like, oh well, like what's getting a bottle of wine?
Yep.
And if it's you're on a night out, what's getting a bag of drugs in? What's getting this? What's getting that? And do you know what I mean? And then who says no to the after party at your house? Who says no to telling your friends something that's hurtful or doing whatever? The inhibitions just continue to get broken down.
And then you also go into the bad food.
Yep.
And that's a whole nother kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Because you look at what you put, and one of the guys said it here is your brain cells are made of every single thing that you put into your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
your brain
really
cells.
true.
Yeah, it's the first time you've heard that.
Yeah, that's really true.
That's going to change your mind to other things. But I'm like, okay, everything that goes into my mouth makes my brain. Okay. And then you look at...
What's my brain built on? Dominoes and tequila.
Dominoes and tequila, oh God.
Yeah. What sort of life's that going to be? I think it's really interesting, man. It's very, very insightful to hear from someone, because you hear these stories of like child prodigies and Macaulay Culkin-esque characters that have got too much too soon.
Yep.
But it's very interesting to hear it firsthand from somebody who definitely did have that.
Yep.
And I think that alcoholism is usually perceived by people to be, or a problem with alcohol is usually perceived by people to be a mid-50s guy with a bottle of Scotch whiskey laid on his couch, sipping it from that. He's unemployed, he's on benefits, he's this, that and the other. But it's not. A problem with alcohol is that you cannot deal with what alcohol does to you in your body.
Yep.
If you have, I've got a number of friends that range from introvert to extrovert, from depressive to happy. And the guys that are depressed or that have a depressive personality, they need to restrict their drinking. 100%.
Is that just you saying that they need to?
It's me. It's me. That's me speaking from personal experience. I do not deal well with hangovers. And then if you throw into that mix, if one of your personality traits is being industrious and you've got high goals and you have high standards for yourself, they say that the ultimate pain is when the person you are meets the person you could have been. Yeah. And that's the difference in pain of what you feel.
Yep.
Like if you set your goals very, very high and then you start to bring yourself down and your performance suffers, performance at work, performance in relationships, performance with everything. If you do that to yourself, you're electing to make yourself slower.
Yep.
And one of the mad things, I always use this example, especially about people that use really, really heavy drugs. So if you talk about pills or MDMA that kind of wash a sequence or a night's experience with the same flavor. So you hear guys will go out and they'll go on a stag do and they go Vegas. They travel halfway around the world to go to Vegas and they get absolutely blitzed, out of their mind, can't remember half the night, and then they'll take a drug that is so immersive that they literally could have gone down the road to the pub and had the same experience.
Yep.
The only difference that you choose when you go away on holiday and you decide to fill yourself full of alcohol and drugs is what environment do I want to have my come down and hangover in.
Yep.
That's the only thing that you change.
Yep, completely. And you know what? I had the perfect come down environment. I had a dark room. It was like a cinema. It was a cinema room. I had a dark room full of snacks.
The blackout blinds.
Everything, honestly, and it would be pitch black. So, that's the dream.
Yep.
I used to remember planning my Sundays.
Yeah.
I'd order a Domino's. The weekend rolled around the come down. This is the treat for myself, and mentally rewarding yourself for a come down. How is that ever going to get you to where you want to be? And you're completely right in the point that when you get to like the pain of staying the same, you sat there looking like, this isn't me. This isn't who I want to be. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be this person in 5 years. The person I want to be in 5 years is doing it. I need to do something. I need to make a change. Yeah.
I mean, there's absolutely some people who don't have a problem with substances. I'm a club promoter, right? That's what I do for a living. Like we see every single
person
strata.
Can you see the people who are suffering?
Not on a night out. Not on a night out, no. Because everyone on a night out, again, you've got alcohol brain. The guys that are on a night out, even the ones that have got a depressive personality or the ones that are suffering, it needs to be chronic, like really severe, for someone to be in the middle of a night out, 10 beers deep, and still not happy.
Yeah.
Because again, the alcohol and the drugs, they wash the environment with the rose-tinted coloured glasses, and then everyone's having a good time. and they're the life and soul of the party. But a lot of the time, it's the people. If you want to try and identify the people that are struggling the most with the substances, look at the ones that are the most outgoing on a night out.
Yeah. Do you know, mine got bad when I started just to drink alone.
Yeah.
That's when I knew. When I'm sat there, I've had a couple of nights where I've just like, I remember, if you remember, drinking a couple of bottles of wine at home alone on Saturday because I wasn't going out. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I lived 45 minutes away, and I texted a friend to ask him if he could bring some coke.
Yeah.
To the house.
An hour away.
An hour away.
On your own.
On my own.
So you can just rack up lines and sniff away.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And I was like,
man, do you know what it is? Like I say, there's absolutely people for whom substances aren't a problem. I have a wide range of friends who party to differing degrees.
Yeah.
People who go out and are sober because they choose to. People who go out and are sober consciously because they know it's bad for them. People who drink and people who party to excess. And within each of those categories, you have people who are able to recover from it and for whom it is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But you know if you're one of those people, you know if you're not. You absolutely know, for me, if you are waking up the next day, you might not know it's because of the alcohol, but if you're waking up the next day and you feel worse than a hangover should make you feel, and you know what I think you know how a hangover should be, but if you start becoming self-referential, and if you can't get out of bed for the day, and if you start thinking that I'm not actualizing my potential, all the things that you've identified, that's a highlight for it. So talk to me about what sobriety's done.
God, what hasn't it done? I've lost about 3.5 stone. Have you seen a picture? No. I'll show you one. I'll get it out.
Pop it up on the screen.
Pop it up on the screen, but this is old.
3.5 stones. So that's like 18 kilos, 15 kilos, something like that. 21 kilos.
Yeah. I was. So that's me. That's me.
Oh wow, that photo looks like it's been stretched.
Yeah.
That photo looks like it's been stretched in widescreen, but it's not. You're just massive.
Just massive. I'll show you from a side profile. So this was me.
You're completely spherical.
I know. Bad, isn't it?
Which is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And that one there.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's a different guy to the one that I'm looking at the moment. Yeah. It's a different shaped face. You've got a completely round face.
Hair's different as well.
Yeah, for sure. So you take on sobriety, and then what are the other changes?
I get time. I acquired myself a lot more time.
Well, you're not spending it getting smashed or coming down.
Yeah.
It's to interject at that point on the time thing. Even if anyone that's listening, even if you think that maybe you don't have a problem in terms of being self-referential with your own opinions on your own substance use, if you look at your year, time's the only thing we can't get back, right?
Yep.
If you look at your year as a set of year-end accounts for a company, and you wanted to maximize profitability, which would be available time to do with what you value, what you would do is you would look at the biggest costs that you could get rid of on that time. And if you look through that, and every single week you go, your accountant looks at you and he says, what's between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. every Saturday? You do fuck all. And then on a Sunday, you're working at 50% capacity. And then on a Monday, you're still only at 80% capacity. Yeah. What the fuck are you doing? And you think, right, okay, even if I don't have a problem with it, just from a pure time efficiency perspective, if I want to maximize my experience of life in the mere 80 years that we've got on this planet, I need to make sure that I'm not spasticating myself on a weekly basis.
And it's the problem, the thing is, it's the routine. Is if you do it every week, that's when it starts to become like question. That's when I think someone should question themselves, because there's so much more things to do out there.
Yeah.
You know, we do live busy lives. You know, we do work hard. Everyone does work hard. So having that sense of doing something you want to do.
Yes.
And it's, despite what people think, it's not going out getting messed up with their friends all the time. There's other things they will find that they enjoy.
Absolutely.
So I found that I love running. I love working out.
Who'd have known that the guy in those photos loved running?
Honestly,
it genuinely doesn't look like you could have ran at Burger King and back.
I would have run to Burger King. I would have run to Burger King.
Run at Burger King, the off license or the dealers. That
exactly.
Was the only three
the only place I'd gone to.
Yeah.
So found out I loved running. I got I guess I replaced one addiction with another, but I loved how running made me feel.
That runner's high, man.
Yeah, it's true. Runner's high is so true. Because there's an element that you're running away from your problems as well. A little bit.
But defeating them as well with every step.
Exactly. So you've got the positives as well. So I fell in love with that. Fell in love with the outdoors, just in general, being outdoors, being around. And then, other things like writing. I've got a blog, #ad.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Get it in there. It's teetotalrunner.com, right?
Yeah. I just talk about what I do, and then the running side of things is taking me all over the world. I wanted to go see some places with it, so I'm going to Lisbon next weekend to do.
How many marathons have you got planned? Is it like 10?
I'm doing 12 runs, one a month, building up different sizes.
Like 5k, 10k.
Yeah. So I'm doing a half marathon next week in Lisbon.
Okay.
Then I'm doing one in Alloa in Scotland because I'm going to go up to Edinburgh.
That's going to be cold.
That's going to be really cold.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing a London Marathon in April.
Nice.
And then I'm doing an Ironman.
No way.
Yeah.
Where's the Ironman?
Barcelona.
That's sick.
Yeah,
That's worst places.
Just for the weather.
Worst place, yeah, for sure.
It's a bit of a swim, bit of a bike ride, bit of a run.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I say, there will definitely be people listening to this that think that's not me. Like, I don't have a problem with substances. I like to go out with my friends, and that for me is what I want to do with my weekends, and that's sweet. But I said during a podcast that I did with the CrossFit guys that I think that around about 25, there's like a fitness menopause that occurs where you stop being concerned. If you've been like a gym bro for a while, you stop being concerned with leanness at all costs, and you start to realize you're chronically aware of your own mortality as you approach 30.
Yeah.
And you think, I need to be functional. I have to be able to put my socks on and get up a set of stairs without getting out of breath. So you start to think about more functional stuff with that. And I think that the same, you can go through a party menopause as well. Completely. And it's delivered at varying ages. You've maybe had an early indoctrination.
Yeah.
You went straight to pro. You went straight to pro level at partying, didn't you?
I went from student to professional. Yeah,
professional.
Missed out everything in between.
No, there was no club games. You went straight to World Cup.
Straight, yeah.
And I think with that as well, people realize, and like for some people, it's like being in a relationship, right? Like that kind of opens people's eyes because the girlfriend doesn't want you going out and getting wrecked all the time, and the boyfriend feels uncomfortable about you being in clubs with other guys, or just generally you want to spend time together because you've got someone around.
Yep.
But even without that, I think that it is really important for people to realize that there's more to life than going out and getting leathered. And I'm saying this I'm the guy that makes his living off the back of this.
You're having a go at me for social media, and you're
look at me.
Shoveling people into clubs every weekend.
What can I say? It's my business partner of 10 years. I had a chat with him the other day, and he was talking about he'd going to go and see one of his friends who was in rehab, who was 44 now, and he was thinking to himself at the time, like, what is it that we're doing to people when we get them to go out on a night out? Like, but what you hit the nail on the head, that the problem is going out and getting blitzed every weekend.
Yeah.
Some people can go out and they can have, I've got a number of friends that can do it that are in the Division 2 and Division 3 parties, and they're able to go out, they can do a 5-pint night, they can wake up the next morning and maybe they shouldn't drive, but after they've had a bacon sandwich, they're sweet to go.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And that's fine.
And I think it's about everyone really needs to ask themselves their relationship with alcohol. Do they think it's healthy? It's a hard question to ask yourself because you never want to self-analyze negatively.
100%.
I do think that there is a subculture. This is my thinking, is that there is the vegan trend that's come up in the last couple of years. It's been started really grassroots. It really it is run by the youth people.
Yep.
Run by the youth who really are, I guess, passionate about animal protection, but also what being a vegan does for you.
Yep.
There's a lot of studies around. No, not yet. Right. I may end up being. Are you vegan?
No, I'm not.
Vegetarian?
No, neither. I've tried. I mean, I'm aware that I definitely don't eat anywhere near enough vegetables, so I need to push that. One of my friends put an interesting Facebook status up the other day talking about it's trendy to be vegan at the moment, right? It is really, really trendy. But the same people that are giving someone grief for wearing a Canada Goose jacket will also be the same one that will spend £100 on 2 bags of coke that's been done off the back of dead children in Colombia. Gang wars and all the rest of the stuff that get those drugs up your nose. Just as damaging and to a lot more sentient beings than the coyote that's died to make a jacket or whatever it might be. So, but again, with that, what are people doing? They're being very selective about what they want to be self-referential about.
Exactly, and also it works on social media for how they're perceived.
Oh, absolutely. The self-branding, if that's fine.
Yeah.
You're never going to put up a video of you snorting a line, but you can definitely put up a video of you saying that it's bad to share a video of someone trapping a coyote for a jacket.
Yep. But I think the teetotal sober movement will come soon. I think there'll be a rise in young people, which I've always seen at universities. There's actually a decrease in the amount of time students go out, mainly because of money. But I think there'll be a little bit more education on the space. I think you'll have generations of young people who choose not to drink.
I agree. Well, I mean, my master's dissertation was the effectiveness of anti-alcohol advertising on students at Newcastle.
Yeah.
And it basically found that none of it was.
No.
That people wear the crazy stories as a badge of honour. They literally say, like, how was your night out? Man, it was crazy. I woke up in hospital.
Yeah.
Hang on. Like, just reframe the conversation that you're having there.
They did the same thing with smoking when the smoking ban came in place.
Yeah.
They tried for years and years and years to obviously get people to smoke less, saying what it's going to do to your fingertips, what it's going to do to your hair. But it wasn't until smoking was banned in clubs and you had to go outside to smoke that it became uncool and smoking stopped.
Yeah.
Because suddenly this is barrier to entry. You've got to go outside and leave the party, so people stop smoking.
Yep. It's interesting. I think what's specifically interesting about this conversation is that we've got two people coming at sobriety from opposite ends of the spectrum. So for the people that don't know, I did 6 months sober last year, which began December 2016 and finished in May 2017. And then I did 6 months of partying again and drinking. But after my 6 months of sobriety, which I only did to see if I could do it, I knew that based on the time availability set of accounts that I came up with, I knew that if I wanted to be really successful for a period and I had some plans of things that I wanted to achieve, I needed to get some more time out. I needed to squeeze more time out of my day. And that sobriety enabled me to do that. But we're coming at it from someone who has used sobriety to stop an addiction or to stop a habitual problem with substances. And then someone who's coming from it who I wouldn't have classed myself as having a problem with alcohol. I'd have only drank maybe once every 2 weeks. But the times that I did, it wasn't good for me.
Yep.
So I guess you've got a fairly wide spectrum of people there that are covered.
Yeah.
That for whom sobriety. So you were talking, really interesting what you touched on about the 6 week point. So I didn't track it at the time. I should have written a diary and I didn't, about what the sobriety was doing to me. Because I guess a lot of what sobriety for you would have meant would have been not doing negative things before they start to do positive things.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I was kind of starting, I guess, from a baseline of okay day to day and then improving from there. But I've always said to my friends that have talked to me about it, after about 2 months, my mental agility and my verbal dexterity just went through the roof.
It's ridiculous, yeah. And on that point, everyone listening, I think, think deeply about when was the last time you can picture yourself going a month without alcohol from being 16 years old.
I use this story all the time.
You can't. I couldn't. You know, you do a dry. If you do a dry January, okay, you wake up in New Year hungover, so you won't have alcohol in your system until the 2nd or 3rd, and then you know what, you'll give in the last weekend because it's still January, so you only do like 3-4 weeks.
What a way to humble everyone that's just completed dry January. It wasn't dry January, it was dry 3 weeks.
It's the dry 3 weeks, you know, it was a bit of a refresh when I get back into the gym, and it's not long enough to really notice the difference.
No, I agree. I think 6 months is a really intimidating amount of time. But for me, the changes that it made for me were absolutely fantastic. Like verbal dexterity, mental agility, quality of sleep, ability to regulate emotions.
Yep.
Everything.
Energy.
Absolutely, yeah. And what it does is I think it starts to let you deal with some of the things that are more chronic, that have been around for a little bit longer. The problems that require a deeper look at yourself, things to do with your values and whether you're living with virtue and what values you want to be cultivating in the long term as a person. Because it's very difficult to think about, am I living a virtuous life that is actuating my potential when you're hanging out of your ass, filling your mouth full of dominoes on a Sunday, or you're waking up with some girl whose name you don't know.
It's completely true, because the questions you ask yourself in them situations are very small. You don't ask yourself big questions.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in a state of hungover, your body's telling you, I need food, I need drink. I need the sudden
very short term, right?
gratification urges. This is what I need to get over the current situation. And then, like you say, when you've got a bit of headspace and a bit of mental bandwidth to ask yourself these difficult questions. Like, I've never ever thought of what are my values. What are my values? I actually did see a therapist for a bit to try and get over it. And one of the things he said to me was, you need to write down your values. All your actions need to be in line with your values of who you want to be as a person. I was like, what the hell are my values?
I haven't got a clue.
I haven't got a clue.
Because it's all been washed under the rug, man. And you're right, like if you're from 16 and spending time recreationally for you is going out and getting blitzed with your mates, you don't actually know what life is outside of that.
No.
And then all that you need to do is add in a little bit of vicariously living your life through other people, through social media, through TV, and all the rest of the stuff. And before you know it, like,
you're beating yourself up over where you are.
Yeah, you're causing the problem, or you're building the wall that is so high you can't climb over it anymore, and you want to see the other side.
Yeah.
And I think that level of sort of helplessness or just dissatisfaction. Yeah. It's just dissatisfaction, and I think that it's something that people don't have to deal with. And I think that's the key takeaway from this, is that you don't have to go out and get absolutely blitzed, because again, like we say, there's differing leagues of partier, right?
Yeah.
There's the ones who've gone to the absolute extreme, and there's the ones that are able to manage their alcohol use. And for the ones that do, then crack on. Sobriety will help, and it will be a really, really good test for you in terms of, can you win something? Can you win a battle that most people couldn't?
That's the big thing there. It's like proving to yourself that you can do something that 99% of the rest of the population can't. And I think that is a big thing, because it's a sense of achievement. It's not Absolutely. It's real.
It's a badge of honour.
Yeah, a badge of yeah. Not that I work up in hospital, but I'm sober.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting thing. I met a guy who I've known for years from York, who's probably one of the fittest, like best body guy. Apart from Chris, that I know, he bodybuilds, and I met him when I must have been like month 3 into being sober, and he was like, I could never do what you do. And I was like, for a minute, like,
that guy is so disciplined with his fitness.
This guy's so disciplined in his life. He looks like a god. He lifts us, and you could never do what I do.
Sober.
That was like, hang on a minute, I'm doing something here that is so far away from norm. But I'm just like, I'm going to discover new things that people don't do.
It's really rare for people to take notice of much of what you post online if it isn't something that's really monumental or about your family.
Yeah.
Like if it's not, I'm having a kid, I'm getting married, I'm moving away. Like for the most part, unless it's something really funny that bangs.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like a 300 liker about someone that's parked on your street.
You've been following my tweets, have you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, unless it's one of those ones, like people don't come up and speak to you. But I only posted about it maybe 3 or 4 times last year, and the number of people that came up to me, you're right, and said, mate, are you still doing that 6 month sober thing? Like, yeah, fucking hell, like what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that big of a deal, mate. I didn't know how you do it, it's just one of them things, like you've got, how do you not, like, and after a while when people say, do you want a drink? And you go, no. And you can say to them, without it being twatty, you can say, no, I'm doing 6 months sober, or I'm doing a period of sobriety. And
on that point as well, the biggest reason why people say they could never do it is because they don't think they could have fun without it. And you're there in a situation where you're still out with people, your friends, you're going out, you're actually in the night out, you're out later probably than ever before, and you're actually having more fun.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest thing I hear from people is, I can never do it because I feel like I'll be boring and I don't know what my friends will think of me. So
here we go. People use alcohol 100% on a night out to mask the fact that they're not as extroverted as their friends think that they are.
Yep.
Then that they're worried that they're not as good. So that is the equivalent of taking a performance enhancing drug to be able to perform at an adequate level at your sport of choice.
Yep.
So if you are on a night out and you've got approach anxiety, as pickup artists would call it, for going up and speaking to a girl. Like I'd remember when I was in uni, I'd be like, can't go talk to that girl, knock back 5 Jaeger bombs, and then suddenly you wake up with it the next morning.
Yep.
Because you're like, I don't know what I said,
but it worked.
But it got rid of the inhibitions got lowered and the approach anxiety went away. And the same thing goes for being with your friends. Like there's this funny quote that I know from online that says nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. And you're like, the last hour of a club night, unless you're in somewhere like that, a late night venue, if you're in a typical club that's 10 till 3 or 11 till 3, the final, and I watch it, like I sit and I look, like if you want a bit of advice, leave the club at 2 a.m. Like leave the club at 2:30 a.m. because nothing good happens in the final half an hour or the final hour. It's people stumbling out, it's issues at the bar, it's people getting in scraps, it's this, that and the other. Like you can have the lion's share of the night with none of the regret the next morning and none of the problems the next morning. And on top of that, you can remember it.
Yep. And you know what? If you drive, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Because you drive there, you drive your friends, drop off, you go when you want to. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've been out, I go out as much now as I did then and have a better time. And I completely agree with the point at 2. Because there's this moment, right, when you're with your friends, okay? And it's normally about 1:30, 2 o'clock, where things deteriorate for them. Yeah. They go from having normal conversation to just being a mess. And you sit there and you're completely fine. It's like,
this all right, I'm off. That's a time to leave. That's a calling bell. So here's the next point. We did this discussion once I completed the 6 months sober with a guy called James Bailey, who is from Basel. And he brought up this really, really interesting point. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yep.
He said that curing an addiction doesn't involve going cold turkey. It involves the reintroduction of the substance on your terms. Mm-hmm. So can you ever see yourself in the either short, medium or long term reintroducing or attempting to reintroduce alcohol?
If you can tell me one reason why. If anyone can tell me one reason why I should have it in my body.
Okay. So because alcohol and other substances are as much of a part of the experience of life as anything else is.
Yep.
Now, you could say, as I do to people when they ask about why am I not drinking as much, my main reason is I've served my time.
Yeah.
Like the same way you do you military service. I'm like, I've served my time partying. I did a decade of partying, and right now I don't need to. But you could argue that by not reintroducing alcohol or by not using alcohol, that again you're now living in a limited life on one side. Because don't get it wrong, like I've had some fucking wicked nights absolutely out of my tree. Like I have had some really, really fun times.
Yeah.
And that's not to... I absolutely would not have been able to achieve those nights out sober.
Yeah.
There's an element of the night... Like we can sing the praises of sobriety all we want, but there's some nights out that just get going because everyone's blitzed.
Yeah, completely. I think definitely not for the very foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. I don't think it aligns with me and my values at all. The same, and this is going to sound really stupid. The same way some people are vegetarian. They just don't. It's not them. I don't. I honestly feel that I don't need it. I think I have fun. And I guess on the second part, then maybe I'm not over the addiction.
Interesting. I think that there's definitely... It shows the fact that you're able to make that admission shows how much time you've spent being self-reflective.
Yep.
Because a lot of people wouldn't have even been able to identify the addiction in the first place or that the habit was a problem.
Yep.
Let alone 20 months down the line to be able to say, I've still got more of this journey to go before I can actually consider going back in the other direction.
Yeah, there's a huge fit. I lived my life running away from that moment where I knew I had to stop. Mm-hmm. Like I live to never feel like that ever again. So
there's an interesting thing. I'm doing Jordan Peterson Day at the moment. There's an experiment that was done with rats. Put rats into a tube, and they hadn't been fed for a while. They attached a spring around the tail, and they put cheese at the end, and they wafted the smell of cheese in so they could smell the food, and the rats pulled a particular force on this spring. Then what they did was they wafted the smell of a cat in from behind them, and you'd have thought the rats are starving, they're going to pull as hard as they can already, but they didn't. The amount of force that they exerted increased. And what he says is that in life, you don't just need to run towards something that you want, you need to run away from something that you fear. Yep, and that's why I run so much. Dom, man, I've really enjoyed this. I'd love to do it again. I'm going to put the links to Teetotal Runner and everything else. Yep. Social Chain, guys, if you want to check it out, or Hogwarts Logic, or just look on your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed. There's probably going to be something from you guys that pops up on there. I really appreciate your time, man.
No, thank you,
so
Chris.
much. Cheers. Thanks, buddy.